you that remembered me in high school, a lot of people did not understand this famous word we used to say, dimension. What is a dimension? Well, I know what you're saying. Oh, it's just some magical place that is like a portal you go into and it's just another weird world just like on Star Wars. Yes, but no. A dimension is a specific vibrational direction that is technically proportional to our perspective. Let's talk. Our universe is created by 3 dimensions. Up, down, vertical, side, side, horizontal, and in and out. We cannot at all point, perceive, or even imagine anything outside of those directions. It's technically impossible. It will violate all laws of physics if we can possibly move in a direction outside of those 3. I know what you're probably saying. Oh, well, you can point diagonally. Well, actually, diagonally is just simply pointing out, pointing to the side, and pointing up at the same time. That's technically still in 3 dimensions, so that does not count. In this video, I'm going to actually show you how a 4-dimensional object looks like. Please do not, I repeat, do not, I cannot stress this enough. Do not think these 4D glasses you see at theaters is something similar to the 4th dimension. One thing I just do not like is that they completely lie, completely fib, completely distorted the way you see the 4th dimension. That has nothing to do with 4th dimension. It is not nowhere near that. The 4th dimension is super complex, complicated for our brain to even wrap around. Let me show you an example of how a 4-dimensional object probably looks like. First of all, we need to know what a dimension actually is. So in order for us 3-dimensional creatures to see how a 4-dimensional object looks like, we have to see how things in lower dimensions see how a 3-dimensional object looks like. For instance, let's just see how 2-dimensional beings see 3D. And this is the perfect example of showing you how this analogy goes. We begin with something called flatland. Now look this up on Google. It is one of the amazing books I've ever written in the history of math, because it actually compares how 2-dimensional beings may predict how 3-dimensional beings look like. And this is exactly how 3-dimensional beings is how 4-dimensional beings look like. Okay, so we begin by seeing this diagram. So let's say this universe is completely flat. Everything is just like in our universe, but they have no height whatsoever. Everybody can just move around, you know what I'm saying, talk to each other, you know what I'm saying, go in and out of their house and stuff like that, but they cannot see up or down whatsoever. This is paper, and paper is 3-dimensional. It does have a little, small little bit of height, but, you understand my concept. Okay, so let's say that one day you have Mr. Square here, okay? This is Square, just like in the movie or whatever. He goes outside of his house, he goes to work, talk to his boss or whatever. He does the bank, he cannot really see the $6 million that's hidden inside of this closed room, because he can only see edges because he's 2-dimensional. He can't go over or look above and see it because he does not know what up is. All right, let's just say one day he goes inside of his, job or whatever. He leaves his family, kids or whatever. Let's hypothetically say he go ahead and closes the door right here, prominent seal right there, and then he goes to his job. So in his job, right, he actually is talking to his boss, and then he goes to his office and he closes the door permanently, right? He does not, to him, he has complete privacy. He has nothing could possibly, see him. But in other words, let's hypothetically say this. So one day, this Square here, in his quiet, meditative area, he heard this voice. Let's hypothetically say this flash drive is a 3-dimensional being talking to the 2 dimensions down here. And it was like, hey, and he's like, what the F-U-C-K? This only has to be going on in my mind because I don't see anything around me. Impossible. Like, what is that? So flash drive was like, hey, look right here. I'm like right above you. And then like, what is going on? Like, I can't see it. I'm probably this. I'm on something. It's impossible. Nowhere in the world. So he says, look up. It's like, what the up? Like, what the up? You must be out of your effing mind. I heard of that before, but that's just some crazy talk. Like, what the world is that? Like, whoever talks about up has to be really crazy. So the flash drive getting frustrated now. He's like, look in the 3rd dimension. And it's like, there's no 3rd dimension. There's no 3rd dimension. Like, whoever says that they're a crackhead, it's impossible. There's no 3rd dimension. So this flash drive got really offended because it offends the flash drive because it offends his universe because he knows that he's three dimensions, but the two-dimensional beings can't see. And then the flash drive kind of got a little frustrated. So now the flash drive kind of went into his universe a little bit and kind of touched it. And then the squirrel was like, whoa, where did this thing come from in the middle of nowhere? Because into his perspective, the flash drive actually appeared, just appeared out of the middle of nowhere because he does not know where the flash drive is coming from because he can't see up. He can only see, in front of him. So he just appeared, and when the flash drive appeared, he only seen the bottom slice of it. So technically, this much of the flash drive appeared. They're like, whoa, you just a tiny rectangle. And he's like, no, I'm a whole flash drive, because he cannot see the rest of him. So he's like, I'm a whole flash drive. Flash what? In other words, you're only seeing a slice of me because you can only see the bottom half because you're two dimensions. And then he's like, you're crazy. There is no third dimension. And then he got frustrated, so he actually went into the universe and technically just simply picked up the square into the third dimension to show him how it actually looks like. Now, do you know how bizarre his vision was when he first seen up for the first time, and he's actually looking down at his entire universe from the third dimension. He's looking at every house, the inside and the outside of everything at the same time. He actually looked down and see everything that's going on. No matter daily lives are going on, in his universe, he can actually see the inside of closed rooms. Like the safe, he can see all the money at one time while everybody else can't see it. He can actually see, and sadly, he can actually see his circled wife cheating on him with red square, and now he kind of knows why he have an orange, squarish circle now. I'm just saying, but in other words, just trying to be funny. All happening behind closed walls, and he can actually see the inside of everything, and it just amazes him. And he's like, how is this possible? He's looking at his world from a new perspective nobody ever seen before. But he's actually looking around. His body doesn't even know how to really sense this extra space around him because he's been trapped in 2D all the time. So he's just floating. He have never seen anything like this before. It's like on some type of drug or something, or how could I say it? DMT. Don't try that, by the way. That's one of the strongest psychotic drugs on this planet. Do not try that. I suggest you not. Okay. But in other words, he's just looking at everything. But the thing is, the first time he's ever felt this before, gravity. He actually feeling gravity pull him down. He does not know what's going on. So he just completely landed in flatland. So, but to the two-dimensional beings around him, he appeared out of the middle of nowhere. So everybody that's right here, he was like, whoa, where did you come from? You just appeared. Is that magic? How is that possible? So what happened was, everybody was looking at him, so he was actually said, the third dimension is real. I've been there. I came from the third dimension. So while everybody was like, where is the third dimension at? He was not able to actually show them because he was back in flatland and his body is only built in 2 dimensions. So in other words, everybody's looking at him like he's crazy, like he, should go to a crazy house. But he was actually telling the truth. It's just that everybody is in 2 dimensions. So listen to this good. This is a prime example of how 2-dimensional beings will perceive 3D. So we are 3-dimensional. Where is the 4th dimension? We can't perceive it. I can't show you where the 4th dimension is because my body, my brain is all trapped and sewn together in the 3 dimensions of our space-time. But hold on, I can technically show you how something 4-dimensional looks like. We look at a shadow of something in our universe. It is perfectly 2-dimensional. That is a perfect example of what a real 2-dimensional object looks like. It's your shadow. Your shadow has a width, length, no height, or a height, length, and no depth. It's only 2 dimensions. Okay? In every universe, your shadow will always be 1 dimension below the dimensions of your universe. Therefore, in a 4-dimensional universe, your shadows will be 3-dimensional. It is crazy, but your shadow dimension will actually be coming off the wall. It will actually be 3-dimensional because in their universe, they're in a higher dimension. Start with a 0-dimensional object. Technically, it's just a point. Nothing can really go outside that point because nothing has a distance. Nothing can be measured. It's just a point. It's just there, you know. So if we get that point, right? And let's say we go into the first dimension. We created a line. That's what most math is calculated as in a one-dimensional universe. A line. And then you go to 2 dimensions. Okay, most math is really calculated as square. A square is technically a 2-dimensional version of a line. So you get that square and turn it 3 dimensions. What's a 3-dimensional version of a square? A cube, because that's 3 dimensions. It's a square with 3 dimensions. So what is a 4-dimensional version of a cube? It is called a tesseract. A tesseract is a 4-dimensional version of a square or a cube. It's that extra dimension. I can't really show you exactly how a tesseract looks like because I am 3-dimensional. Our universe cannot fit a tesseract in it because we only have 3 dimensions and a tesseract is 4 dimensions. But like I said, I cannot show you how a tesseract look like, but I can show you how a shadow of a tesseract look like because a shadow of something 4-dimensional is 3-dimensional. So therefore, I can actually show you how a shadow of a tesseract look like. This is a shadow of our 4-dimensional tesseract. Beautiful, isn't it? It's just such an amazing shape to actually see in our universe, put together by pure math. In other words, this is exactly a great representation of the 4th dimension. This is not really the 4th dimension because I cannot show you how the 4th dimension look like, but I can give you a perspective on how the calculations are with it. Yes, it is very hard to understand why this is actually made the way it's made. It's all been created by simple mathematics. Well, first of all, as you see, this tesseract is very complex because first of all, it kind of looks like a cube with another cube connected with all vertices. Why is that? Well, because let's go back to Flatland and show you how 2-dimensional beings actually see a cube. Just like this cube here. This is not a cube. This is nowhere near how an actual cube actually looks like because it's on a flat piece of paper. It's just a shadow of how one is projected in 2 dimensions when it lost a dimension. So if this square was trying to teach, his community about how a 3-dimensional cube looks like, this is the only way he could possibly explain to them. But the thing is, they can only see the edge of it, and it looks like a square within a square connected with its vertices. But people's like, okay, it's just a square within a square. It's like, no, it's more than just a square within a square. Because this is not really how a cube looks like. It's just a flat version of it, so they can only see the side of it. This tesseract is not an actual tesseract because this is only a shadow of how a tesseract is projected in 3 dimensions. This is a tesseract that actually lost a dimension and is flattened to show you how its shadow looks like in 3 dimensions. Just like how a flat cube looks like, how it looks like a square within a square. But this is not a real tesseract. It's just a shadow of a flattened tesseract. I just want to say, do not hurt your brain trying to wrap your head around the 4th dimension. It's just something very, very complex to fit in our universe. I just want to say, I hope everyone has a positive and safe day. I'm Kivide Papillon.